Hi my loves, welcome back. Today I'm going to be doing a book video for you. I'm going to be doing my May books. Now it's a bit of a cheat because I didn't read as much in May as I wanted to. I just kind of fell out of it a little bit, partially I think because I got stuck into two pretty long books that I wasn't enjoying. So let that be a lesson to you guys. If you're not enjoying a book, please just give it up. I have some sort of psychological thing where I just can't, once I've invested a certain amount of time into a book, I just have to finish it, and I need to stop that because I have so many books to read. We haven't got time to be, spending hours and hours and hours and hours reading a book that you're not enjoying. So we've got a rather meagre pile. This is this month's pile. However, to balance out the ones that I really didn't enjoy, there are actually a couple books that I really did enjoy in this month's haul. So it's worth sticking around because I wasn't reading that much and I just wasn't feeling reading because of the books I wasn't enjoying. I didn't even write that many notes, so I don't really know how long this video is going to be or how detailed it's going to be, but we're going to give it a go anyway. But anyway, the reason it's a cheat is because I decided early this week, I'm filming this on Thursday, for most of this week I've just been pushing through and finishing up all the books that I was kind of halfway through. So I actually have read quite a significant amount of these books in June, but anyway, it doesn't matter, you guys don't care. So June's book club book, probably going to film this 1 or 2 weeks into July anyway, so don't panic, you've got time. Plus I've just looked inside this book and the words are large, so it's shorter than I actually thought it was. But we're going to go with Ali Smith's Autumn. Now Ali Smith is an author that lots of people absolutely love. I haven't read her other seasonal books. I hope that you don't have to because I haven't got them. I've only got Autumn. The book I have read of Ali Smith's I hated, and I think I read the beginning of How to Be Both as well, and I didn't like that either. The book that I read that I didn't like was Like. This is going to be a little bit of a challenge for me to see if I like this book, and I'm sure some of you guys will love this, some of you guys might not like it, so I thought it'd be a nice one to do. Maybe I'm going to love this, you never know. The blurb says, Daniel is a century old. Elizabeth, born in 1984, has her eye on the future. The United Kingdom is in pieces, divided by a historic once-in-a-generation summer. Love is won, love is lost. Hope is hand in hand with hopelessness. The season rolls round as ever. Let me know what you guys think of this in the comments of next month's book video. So May's book club book was Jean Rhys's Wide Sargasso Sea, which is a relatively famous novel. It's kind of like a prequel to Jane Eyre about the wife in the attic, who I think it's hinted in Jane Eyre that she is Creole or of Creole origin, or maybe it's just said, I can't remember. Jean Rhys, as a Caribbean author, white Caribbean author, kind of writes back to Jane Eyre in a kind of anti-colonial, anti-Rochester way, in a defence of the mad wife in the attic. So most of this book takes place in Jamaica, so it is mostly literal prequel, tells the story of Antoinette, who turns into Bertha, who basically finds herself kind of afflicted with tragedies and ends up married to this Englishman that she doesn't really know. She finds herself kind of in between two cultures because the black people of the island don't accept her, and the English men and women don't accept her either because of her and her family's Creole status. So Jean Rhys never fails to confuse me because I felt this way very much about her last book that I read, which was Voyage in the Dark. In one moment she's kind of bemoaning her position as a Creole person that doesn't fit in anywhere. She doesn't fit in Jamaica, she doesn't fit in England, she doesn't fit in with white people, she doesn't fit in with black people, and she can be what I would describe as racist, particularly because as a heritage-wise white person on the Caribbean islands, her family would have been slave owning. Antoinette's family in this novel would have been slave owning. Her kind of semi-autobiographical character in Voyage in the Dark would have been slave owning, so there's a limit to how much I will kind of give her in terms of that liminal feeling that she talks about. But then in the next moment she'll say something really anti-colonial, she'll say something completely sound. What she does do really well is write about that dreamlike liminal state of being in between somewhere, not quite fitting in somewhere, really well. The kind of loneliness of that, she creates atmosphere really well, and I generally think the writing is really good. It's kind of toes the line between being somewhat experimental but also quite enjoyable to read still. Yeah, so I find her really confusing, like a confusing character. I don't think that necessarily means we shouldn't read her books, but I think it's certainly something to be aware of when reading Jean Rhys's books. I do think it's quite a good thing in terms of I think she gives quite a good historical account of a view from a white Creole, because obviously there's different types of Creole as well, but from a white Creole perspective, I think she gives quite a good historical, like it's quite interesting historically. But yes, so there's lots of things that I find kind of irk me about Jean Rhys, so I can't fully get on board with her work. But yeah, so this novel is very dreamlike. It spends a lot of time on the ins and outs of the relationships between the people in the novel and the kind of grey areas of that. I think Rhys does that really well. And so it's not super plot driven or story driven, so that's something also to bear in mind with this one. But yes, so I'm confused about it, as I suspected that I would be, but I'm glad that I read it because I think it's kind of an important part of English literature history. It's interesting to see kind of Jane Eyre flipped back around on itself, kind of reveals some of the things in Bronte's work as well that you think, oh, that's a bit questionable as well. So I think in that respect it's quite an interesting book. I think, yeah, her style is very accomplished, but leaves me confused. So next up we have one of these long books that I got stuck in the middle of. This is The Lives of Others by Neil Mukherjee. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. This book is about a family who lives in Calcutta in 1967 to around 1970. And it kind of follows them during that time, but also talks about the history of the family. Basically, this family lives in a multiple storied house. Like at the top are the grandparents, and then on each floor is like a brother or a sister and their respective families. So this novel is very much about like family obligations within a Bengali family, and the kind of role of family, and sometimes the toxicity that can come with that as well. In fact, very often the toxicity that can come with that. In general, this novel is quite, I don't want to say negative, but it's quite like heavy, like it feels like a stone in your stomach. There's not a lot of lightness. Within most books, even kind of quite sad books, there's often moments of lightness and like comedy, and I think it's kind of an important part of the book, because if not, it can feel very like you're being literally dragged down. So within this family anyway, one of the grandsons, kind of the second generation, goes off to take part in communist action, Maoist action in the villages, the rural areas. And the novel's really looking to show class relations, you know, the plight of the working classes and the kind of middle class attitudes towards them, both in the kind of revolutionary sense for the grandson who goes out and tries to help and start revolution basically, and obviously the more conservative sides as well of the family members, and kind of the cruelty that takes place between classes, and you know, the oppression. That's obviously one of its major themes. Obviously for this young man as well, there's a conflict between his personal relationships, his family relationships, and his obligations that he feels towards the people from the villages that he's trying to help. So on the surface of it, I think this book would have been something I was like, if I listened to all of that, I would be like, this is a book that I'm really interested in, that sounds yeah, interesting to me. But in reality, this was a book that described the ins and outs of lots of things for seemingly no reason. Just is so wordy and it could have been like half the size. Like I feel like we could have cut like literally half of it out. Whilst the themes are important, and the kind of socialist aspects and socialism versus the kind of family unit and that kind of thing, I don't feel like within the writing itself there was much to be said for it. It was a lot of heavy, dense description. There was no one really to like, and usually that wouldn't bother me. I'm not, you know, I don't necessarily need characters that I really like in a book. Like I said, there's no light moments in it. It's all very heavy. Yeah, I said it was the ultimate realism, exploring important ideas about class, but its form or writing is less interesting. I wouldn't recommend it. This was shortlisted for the Man Booker in 2014, and I think it's probably because it's quite impactful in the ideas it's putting forward. I don't think I've come across a novel super recently that puts forward socialist ideas quite so like obviously, and it has an agenda in that way quite so overtly, but it does it to the detriment of the kind of art, if you guys know what I mean. So yeah, but I imagine that's why it was shortlisted. Next we have World's Fair by E.L. Doctorow. This is a novel about a young boy in, God, when is it? Like the early 20th century, growing up in New York. It's about his mother and his father and their relationship. It's just about his family and about his childhood specifically. This novel is, I really liked this. I've read another of his books. What's it called now? I will write it on screen now because I've completely forgotten, but this one was a lot more personal. That one was a very big overview of lots of characters and archetypes and stuff, and this one is very much a kind of focused novel from the point of view of a young boy, basically. I thought it was a really enjoyable read. Doctorow really describes childhood amazingly well. It really puts you in the shoes of the narrator, and you really feel like a child reading it, and it has very kind of magical quality. And I think because it's obviously talking about the World's Fair as well, which was a real thing that happened in New York, you're really placed in that historical period of time. So what I would say is really nice about this book is that it really captures a moment in New York's history, I think very successfully, and in that way it feels like a little gem of a book. If that sounds like it's your kind of thing, then I would definitely recommend reading this. On the other side of things, an author who's kind of like an American novelist is Jeffrey Eugenides, and this is his book Middlesex. Obviously I imagine lots of you guys know of the Virgin Suicides. I really enjoyed the Virgin Suicides. It's a very well written book and very focused, and this book is not very focused. So this is about a intersex person born with the sex characteristics of both sexes, but that goes kind of unnoticed by her family until puberty. And now that is obviously quite a tricky subject to navigate. So this novel has a kind of Louis de Bernier vibe, so it's trying to be like somewhat funny, addressing the reader, being kind of like talking about the eccentricities of the protagonist's Greek family, who make their way over from Greece. But it is so wordy unnecessarily. Again, lots of things happen in this book that could have just been cut. They don't add anything or bring anything to the storyline, the themes, the nothing. And I don't want to spoil it for you guys, but the kind of revelation that Cal has the sex characteristics of both sexes happens about here. I think the thing is that Eugenides decided he wanted to write this book and then discovered he kind of didn't know how to do that, so he kind of leaves it right till the very end, and the nuances and everything is lost. Like the science, I think, is probably pretty bad. The kind of the inner workings of how that might feel as an intersex person was just so like glossed over completely, considering it's like the major theme of this book. It was just like, I just thought it was kind of ridiculous. And before that it was just a lot about kind of growing up as a girl. I think he just kind of tried to avoid it and it didn't really work, for me anyway. Yeah, it's bumbling. It doesn't, I've said here, it doesn't explore its subject matter appropriately, correctly. I think it would probably be somewhat offensive. Yeah, it just doesn't work. And more importantly, the kind of Louis de Bernier-esque tone, that kind of like funny, look how eccentric my family is thing. It's not always amusing, it's not always comical, it's very often long, wordy, bumbling, just goes on and on and on. So this is definitely something I should have given up on, and I would not recommend. I'd recommend The Virgin Suicides, I think, even though it's got its own set of problems about women, but at least it's a good piece of writing. But this one, no. Okay, finally onto my final book, and much more of a success. This is Stories of Your Life and Others by Ted Chiang. This is a book of short stories, as you can imagine. All of them are science fiction or fantasy kind of based, speculative. For example, we've got one which explores someone who is severely brain damaged, who is injected with a kind of experimental hormone and ends up uber intelligent, and we're kind of being super intelligent and seeing patterns in everything where that ends up for that person. The main story is a really beautiful story. So some of these stories are more readable, more interesting, more moving than others. I will admit that it's not a perfect book. Particularly the stories towards the end, I was less sold on, but the first few stories are really, really great and well worth reading. And he does a really good job of explaining very complex scientific, linguistic and mathematical, I can't speak, ideas in such a way as you can understand them. They add to the story, they're part of the story, they're embedded in it, and they are there for a very good reason. And he manages to explain them very well, to incorporate them very well, and also tie them to kind of personal things and like moving things, and he manages to kind of tie the two together in a really successful way, which I think the best speculative fiction does. And I think your mind will be like blown by the some of these stories. I think they're really, really good. I think that's everything, you guys. Thank you so much for watching today. I will see you again at the beginning of July sometime to talk about autumn. Let's see how we get on with that one. Thank you guys for watching today, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.